So I am assuming that if you're watching this video, you know about the Vox adpocalypse that targeted Steven Crowder's channel. And even if you don't like Steven Crowder, I happen to like his show sometimes, once in a while, not like a huge stalwart of it, but I think you do have to support him in this fight. I don't think he's ever done anything to warrant being targeted like he has for both demonetization or eventual removal by YouTube. But the fact is that his example is an excellent one of why people are starting to think about leaving the platform entirely and going to a different one because YouTube just doesn't want people who are thinking, divergent thoughts. Just yesterday, I watched Borderlands, which is the documentary, the farewell documentary from Lauren Southern, and then I actually watched her interview with Stefan Molyneux. And yeah, it's totally understandable that at a certain point people have had enough. In her case, she's quitting altogether producing media, and that's something that people should fear, because if people are deciding, well, what's the point? I'm just going to get squelched and completely bulldozed by this horrible big tech censorship monopoly, then what the hell is the point? So in my case, you should understand. A couple weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, one of my videos was put in limited state, and today it said that they wrote me this message. It said, as you may know, our community guidelines describe which content we allow and don't allow. Your video, The Collapse of the Democratic Big Tent, Part 2 of 2, was flagged to us for review. Upon review, we've determined that it violates our guidelines and we've removed it from YouTube. We know that this might be disappointing, but it's important to us that YouTube is a safe place for all. If content breaks our rules, we remove it. If you think we've made a mistake, you can appeal and we'll take another look. Keep reading for more details. So I have not appealed yet, but I believe that, when they first put it in limited state, I appealed, and within literally minutes, my appeal was rejected. So I don't really believe that YouTube is making a good faith effort to let people have a hearing as to why their content is not unsafe, or whatever the hell you call it. This video was critiquing an anti-Semitic video by AJ Plus, or you can consider it not anti-Semitic, but either way, whether it is or it isn't, you have the right to criticize a video and have people make the judgment on their own. I wasn't calling for anyone to remove another video. And that's basically the state of the world today. So then we have Bernie Sanders. While the rest of us, we have to struggle to put out content and have it actually viewed or even get published at all. This piece of crap gets to go on Cenk Uyghur's stupid show and complain about anti-Semitism, which is something I can guarantee you he doesn't care about, because this is the key, okay? Bernie Sanders, this money tree behind him, is exactly what he deserves. Bernie Sanders is the type of politician that he grows wealthy while he's in office. He didn't grow wealthy when he was a mayor of Burlington. He didn't grow, which I guess is public office too, but let's say he didn't grow wealthy before he was mayor, when he was just some deadbeat over in Vermont doing literally nothing and running for office every year. He grew wealthy after he ran for president, and that's something that we see is a result of his propensity to live one way and tell other people to live a different way. That's the problem. That it's one of many problems with him. And I'll tell you what, I don't feel that I have to pull punches, okay? I am Jewish. I've been called all sorts of names by all types of people. There's nothing you can do about it. It's never going to end. At a certain point, you just accept it, and maybe you say something back. You say something I would say, unflattering towards them. You treat people the way you'd like to be treated, and when you don't get treated the right way, you deal with it. You don't just complain that people are being unfair to you. So, Bernie, let me find this. So he said this was, I don't know if it reports the whole thing, but it said here, Ocasio-Cortez was complaining about it. They seem to only complain about anti-Semitism when it's one of their actual acquaintances. Okay, the fact is that there are people. If you go to parts, and now they're also complaining about Soros. Oh, why is it that Soros gets attacked? Anti-Semitism or whatever. Let me show you something. Okay, elderly. So these things are happening literally all the time. And you never hear Bernie Sanders talk about it. This was in October, also from the JTA, Orthodox Jewish man beaten at Brooklyn intersection. So you can see, thankfully they put the Twitter. So this taxi driver just jumps out and literally wails on this guy who's probably over 60 years old. He's just beating the fuck out of him. But Bernie Sanders is going to complain about, they made me look bad because... And then this other old Jewish guy comes and tries to warn him about it, and then he runs away. That's what you talk about when you have, and they investigated it. So don't start to tell me, well, maybe you deserved it or something. This guy, a motorist, jumped on this old guy who's Jewish and beat the shit out of him. And that's what it was, a 38-year-old man going up against a 62-year-old guy with stuff in his hand. The prayer shawl and the phylacteries are what we call, in Hebrew, they're called tefillin. So you use them to pray. So this is the definition of A, an act, so assault, and B, intent. That's what you would call a hate crime, if hate crimes even exist, which it shouldn't matter. You shouldn't assault people, whatever the motive is. But Bernie Sanders has to whine and bitch about the fact that people are making fun of him because, yes, he was a cheap piece of crap his entire life, and he's living like a king now. With two, why would anybody care if Bernie Sanders has two houses? Why is that anti-Semitic? I was listening to Jimmy Dore comment about it, and it's pretty funny. He started making Jew jokes in the middle of it because he was defending Bernie Sanders. He said, "How do you know that a Jew?" I think it was something like it was. I don't know. It doesn't even matter. I could actually do a video on that too. It's pretty funny. What if we reported Jimmy? I mean, Jimmy always. I mean, this is a thing. So people think that because they're on a certain side of the aisle, they have an entitlement to greater freedom of expression than other people. And Jimmy Dore isn't the worst person either. But I'll tell you something. When I listen to Tim Pool, who's probably, he calls himself milquetoast, fence sitter, or whatever. But there's a reason that it's it's good at least to listen to him, because he says something that's very true. And for a while, I wasn't entirely understanding what he meant by it. But he said that, yes, the journalistic left is infected by this breed of sociopaths. These people who are journalists, who they're sociopathic. They don't care about the consequences of the stuff they publish. They don't care about who might be harmed by it. They don't care about the long-term effects of it. They don't care about the reputation that they're establishing for other people. They don't care about the reputation they're establishing for themselves. All they care about is being able to nail another scalp to the wall. And when I say scalp, I don't mean anything derogatory towards any indigenous groups, but that's the way they behave. Okay, in the environment that we live in, you have to qualify turns of phrase like what I just said by claiming that you don't mean to offend a certain group of people. So yeah, I don't think you should be surprised that people want to quit YouTube, whatever size of a channel they have, because it's like, why would you even? I mean, where do you look for goals right now? So he said that on Cenk Uyghur's program. And yeah, I think Bernie is a horrible person. I think he's a disingenuous pile of crap. And suddenly he cares about anti-Semitism. He's never cared about it in his life. Never, ever had to deal with having. First of all, he wrote a column about. I think it was 4 or 5 days ago. He addressed it directly to Donald Trump, saying, "I know where I came from," but he mentioned that he was. So let's even read it, and it's going to be pretty simple. So this is an indirect one. They don't even link it. He should have. That's a problem with some of these places. So he says, "I know where I came from," does President Trump, but does he mention the word Jewish at all? No. You can see here there's, or rather you can't, but one second, let me show you. So I did a word search, it would appear in orange, and it doesn't, there's nothing here. So it's 0 out of 0. The top of my screen is cropped out, so you can't see it. But no, he doesn't mention the word Jewish at all time. At any time, he doesn't mention the word Jew. He doesn't mention the word God. Doesn't mention anything. Doesn't mention nothing. But then Bernie Sanders wants to complain because somebody said something unkind about him being a greedy bastard, which he is. And Bernie, you don't represent me, and you don't represent the people that I live around. Doesn't matter what religion they are. Doesn't matter what color they are. You're a greedy piece of crap. And nobody really believes this nonsense about you caring about the common man when you tool around the country in those planes and you hang out with friggin' Killer Mike all the time. Yeah, Bernie Sanders is he's like, and I want people to understand, I've defended Bernie Sanders on many occasions when Politico has sicked its dogs on him. They have a journalist named Edward Isaac Dover. By the way, a Jewish guy, Edward Isaac Dover, who's written horrible pieces of slander against Bernie. And I've stood up when I think they've said something that's untrue about him, because that's what really matters. If you're saying something untrue, then that's really how you defraud the voter and the common person of their right to know what's in their best interest. Another issue that's going on. So John Delaney, if you don't know, which you probably don't. So this guy, this bald dude, is running for president, and he apparently said something. He said Medicare for all may sound good, but it's actually not good policy, nor is it good politics. And he is getting just roasted. Roasted, it says here, since there's so many people running for president and not enough for Senate, instead of obsessing over who's a front runner, maybe we can start with some general eliminations. This awful untrue line got booed for a full minute. John Delaney, thank you, but please sashay away. So she's mocking a fellow, I think John Delaney still serves in Congress, so she's mocking another member of Congress, which is, I mean, we live in the real world. She's allowed to do it. And then he replies, he says, "Hey, AOC, we have the same goal, universal health care for everyone. We just have different ways of getting there. Healthcare is the number one issue for voters. So let's debate the way forward. Any show of your choosing, healthcare is too important for tweets. We need real discussion. So then he goes, he says, at a minimum, we have to be tolerant of different views on achieving the same goal, universal healthcare. That's why I responded to AOC tweet with a debate offer. This isn't about slogans. People's lives are at stake. We need debates and the truth. And then he keeps going on and on and on, blah, blah, blah. And she said no. So, and what did the New York Magazine say? They said AOC is right. There's no point in debating John Delaney. Well, okay, so if you think that you're so correct and nobody needs, you don't need to listen to anyone, then why do we need to listen to you? If you think that you're totally correct and you don't think you need to listen to me, or you don't think she doesn't even have to listen to people who are within her own caucus, within the House, then why does anybody need to listen to her? AOC is not elected to an office any higher than John Delaney's. So, yeah, we're talking about someone who has her ego has just gone supernova since she came into office, and Ilhan Omar as well has, when he tweeted this out, he said, at a minimum, we have to be tolerant of different views. And Ilhan Omar said, no means no. And these people were, they're just they're going after him. And some people are bringing up this transgender thing. This has nothing to do with transgenderism. This is a woman who's from Media Matters, and she's bringing up this Trump administration HHS view. She says, I really don't think you understand how uninspiring a message of tolerating different views on this is. And you know what? She's talking about, the system empowers doctors. It's totally legal for a doctor to refuse to treat transgender people like me. Yeah, if I'm a doctor, I don't want to have to treat you. I don't have to. If I'm a doctor, first of all, treating people it's not what they really think it means. Okay, if you're a first responder and there's an emergency, yeah, you absolutely have to treat someone. But no, doctors are not required. You can't force people to perform an act of an act of labor. Okay, that's against the Bill of Rights. Okay. That could technically be false imprisonment, in fact. So these people, they don't have the slightest concept of what living in a free society with individual liberty and the ability to make your own choices means. But, when somebody says, hey, I want to talk a little bit about healthcare, I want to talk about my ideas, maybe compare notes, Ilhan Omar basically takes it to mean, you're catcalling him the same way that Ben Shapiro was. So no, I think that these people are, they're just reprehensible. They are sociopaths, whether it's the journalists, whether it's the politicians or whatever. And in due time, I think that they will see the fruits of their labor. I think that they're splitting the Democratic Party, the impeachment wing, the Medicare for All wing. They're splitting the party between the people who want to accomplish something and the people who want to run the car off of the cliff. So there's a lot of people who are replying here. Carmine Sabia says, does anyone find it insane that any time someone offers to be AOC on an issue she stands for, in this case a fellow Democrat, her and her friends wanted to liken it to sexual assault? Just say you have no idea what you're talking about and be done with it. And then people are just insulting him personally. They don't want to talk about the actual issues. Someone's scared, and she just got ratioed. By the way, all these tweets that were deleted. So I think that what happened was, I don't know how this happens. Maybe some of you are more familiar with Twitter. I think Twitter personally is one of the weirdest social media places that there is. So look at all these ones that appear to have been either deleted or blocked or something. This one's blocked, and they're just. They think, oh, we don't even have to listen to responses. So this is something that's cropped up over and over again in the past few days. Ocasio-Cortez apparently blocked a number of users, but she is going to. I think that she's going to be sued, and because of the precedent set by the Trump Twitter case, where Donald Trump apparently told. He blocked a few users, and they said, well, he's a public official. We have the right to the public square and everything. So he was forced to unblock them because of the court system. Well, this is going to happen to Ilhan Omar. This is going to happen to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They can't just pretend that they live according to a different set of standards because they have some sort of image that's much more Vogue, and they're on the cover of Vogue, in fact, all the time. Here I think it was Vogue. It was either Vogue or Glamour. So yeah, right here. You can go. I mean, they put this is why she thinks she's better. Donald Trump, they'll put him, going nuts and his head setting fire on Time magazine. But AOC gets all of these photogenic photo shoots. Over here you have Anna Wintour is, she's the one who's promoting these ingrates. Yeah, so we do live in a divided country. We have a two-tiered system of justice. We have different, standards of speech for different people based on what they think and who they're connected to. That's the problem in our country. That's about it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also subscribe to me on BitChute and Minds.com. Both of those have the screen name Chef Leopard. If you want to chip in, send some money for the time being, you can send it to me on Subscribestar. That's also Chef Leopard. And if you, by chance, want to interact on Gab, it's at Starscream85. And I'll talk to you later.